Kieran Harte, good morning and welcome to Digital Marketing School. You're this week's keynote speaker at the Marketing Institute Breakfast. Could you start off by telling us a little bit about who you are?
Absolutely. I work as the Commercial Operations Director for Digitalworx Group. They're a Irish time zone company. We look after websites like myhome.ie, Ireland.com, Irish Racing. We have a share in a few other sites, and we also have a share in the Electric Media Sales, which is a sales house in Ireland.
So that's clearly not an Irish accent. Whereabouts do you hail from?
Absolutely. I've been working here for 2 years now, but before that I was working in Australia with the News Limited owned REA Group, who are one of the bigger property portal sites there, and my role there was working as Senior Product Manager for display advertising, and I got to work there, fortunately enough, across many markets that we expanded into. So I had some experience working in the UK, United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong markets, and even Luxembourg and a few other European markets.
So with such a wealth of international experience, what's your sense on how the Irish digital advertising industry stacks up against international competition?
Interestingly, Ireland has some fantastic thinkers in the marketplace, and some of the best conversations going on here. In terms of pure market numbers, I think what we're seeing is really, in terms of online usage, we're very similar to the UK, and around 25% of all of our media consumed is consumed online. However, we're probably more similar to the US in terms of spend being devoted to digital. So that's around what we think between about 5 and 10%. That's a bit of a marked difference between the amount of time or the amount of media we're consuming online versus the amount of spend we're actually putting towards online in this country.
You mentioned this morning the IAB. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the IAB is and why it's important to Ireland that the IAB has been established?
Yeah, absolutely. The IAB, which is the Internet Advertising Bureau, is established in a lot of other markets, and I've had experience with the UK and Australia. It's been great for getting a lot of publishers together and a lot of agencies together to get a real picture of where the digital dollar or the digital euro is being spent in the country. So it actually helps at the end of the year for all of the players in the industry to understand what sort of dollars is being spent on what type of digital activity. So is it display advertising, classifieds, paid search, etc., etc. So it really helps and understand where we need to put our focus and even where we need to put a training or a bit of support behind to make sure that we're progressing as an industry.
This morning, one of the things you focused on was click-through rates and how it's a measure, but perhaps not one of the best measures for success of a digital campaign. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of branding campaigns, click-throughs are a fantastic measurement, but my point today was that they're a very immediate measurement of engagement online, and they don't allow us to measure any of the sort of branding tenements of marketing in terms of market awareness, brand affinity, brand consideration. What the click-through rate does is stops us from measuring the success of a branded campaign once the display ad's not in front of you anymore. So post sort of brand exposure, it doesn't allow us to measure how successful that's been. And we do this in other sorts of measures in terms of brand recall and brand awareness. Can
you give us your perspective on the future of digital advertising for Ireland?
I think we'll definitely see more advertising spend as a whole being shifted towards online, and I think that's just going to be a fair reflection of where consumers are consuming their media from. I think that ideally, I really do hope that the IAB set up not only their digital revenue study, which they're undertaking now at PricewaterhouseCoopers, but I really hope the IAB then go on to do some research into the benefits of building brands online, and that's not just for the sake of publishers, but also for advertisers. So we understand where it's being done well, and I guess have a couple of stakes in the ground to point out are we heading the right direction. The last one, I guess, personally from a personal perspective, I think we'll see in the Irish market a bit of a shift towards agencies and advertisers bringing publishers up to the fore of their media planning and their media buying. Part of the points today was that publishers have such great insights into their audience's segmentation, and they're able to target branded campaigns in ways that are pretty incredible. And what that really requires, though, is advertisers and the media planning and buying process to bring publishers on early on into the piece to actually strategize that out and understand how the publishers can help advertisers meet those marketing goals and the campaign goals and objectives.
Ireland.com is one of the most successful Irish websites. Can you tell us a little bit about how you market this website from an international perspective?
It's a really interesting one. That's the old two-headed beast. Ireland as being your guide to what's happening in Ireland, it really does need to have a face for the domestic audience who we want to be able to use on a very, very frequent basis to find out what is happening in a very local area. And That changes when you move into an international audience, obviously, who are looking for more things like understanding how to travel there, more interested in our more traditional things, not really what's happening down the local pub on a Friday night, more interested in how do I get to the cliffs and more. So it really is a two-headed beast, and it's something that our marketing people are looking at as two very different objectives. But some of the ways we're expanding out into the international markets are through, once again, using display is a great example of that, and targeting that to international markets, and also trying to make sure that our SEO and our SEM are in place to make sure we're capturing the right sort of audience for international markets. The right sort of audience that we can deliver relevant content to is also a real focus for us.
Kieron, Harte, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning on Digital Marketing School.